Hi everyone, no major news today, but markets did catch a very small bounce, just 0.81 here or 0.01%. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. Moving over to the Fear and Greed Index, you can see 68 with a 69 yesterday, so just a 1-point step down. You can see that continuing to trend after hitting that overbought condition at a 75. Momentum basically flat, strength and breadth still in extreme greed, really haven't moved much since we hit those metrics. Put call ratio still very low, 0.65 there, and then volatility continuing to trend higher. I think that's going to continue to go. You can see this overall uptrend continuing to go as that SMA trends higher. Safe haven demand, still extreme greed there, and then junk bonds, extreme fear, but that's starting to trend a little bit higher. We'll see how that plays. And that's starting to trend a little bit higher, potentially some more fear entering the market. Moving over to seasonality, still a bearish seasonal period. We were supposed to see a little bit of a bottom tomorrow with a slight bounce into the third, but it seems like we're going to get that continued rollover a little bit early. So we'll see how it plays. Right now it looks a little bit bearish on markets, and seasonally that still fits. Moving over to the economic calendar, unemployment rate for the Eurozone came in flat at expectations. ADP non-farms basically flat, a little better than expected. Previous number also revised up a little bit. So jobs data, it's okay. I don't know if that's going to hold into the Thursday and Friday sessions, but we'll see how it plays. Right now, no foreshadowing of a crash. And then looking at Thursday, just that economic data here. Initial jobless claims, non-manufacturing employment, and non-manufacturing PMI, non-manufacturing prices, as well as Fed balance sheet. So economic data, most of that's expected to be pretty good. 54.4, 55.4, and then 51.6. And then for the Friday session, obviously all of that economic data coming in. Unemployment rate, that is the big one. 4.2 right now. If that steps up too aggressively, markets are going to panic. Markets are going to panic, in my opinion. So very, very important for the Friday session. Moving over to max pain, 569 was max pain and 569 was the closing price. So basically right on top of it, didn't move a whole lot today. And then looking at the expirations here for the next 2 days, basically flat, right? So $1 to the upside or 0.81, and then for the Friday session, currently flat from current price. So not expecting a ton of volatility here up until we start to see those bigger moves down. 9 days from now, October 11th, you can see a 2% down move there. And then look at after that, much lower prices here up into the 14th, 6.8% down. Definitely interesting to see that so far out, but for right now, seems like we're okay. Moving over to the charts, looking at the S&Ps, you can see we dipped down, hit the trend line yesterday, touched the trend again, found a little bit of a bounce. Like I said, basically flat on the day, momentum continuing to roll to bearish, RSI continuing to stay bearish. Next level would be the 21 EMA there at 56.34, but right now we're holding the trend and holding this previous high back here from July. And then looking at those short time frames here on the SPY, you can see we came down. The low of day was 565.27, my level 565.16, so just barely missed it. We did dip below all the short-term EMAs and SMAs here on the hourly just for a moment, but then we held that 200 at the end of the session, bouncing from that level. So right now you're stuck between the 200 at 568.96 and the 144 EMA sitting there at 570.42. As long as we're in there, we're okay. As long as this support here holds, we're okay. But the big down move yesterday, couldn't recoup too much of those gains, found resistance here back from the lows on Monday and the lows back here on Thursday of last week. So right now this looks like a high, lower high setting up, but right now it is consolidation, waiting for that bigger break. And looking at the SPY too here on the daily, you can see same setup, momentum rolling to bearish pretty aggressively. And then looking at the 4-hour chart here just for a moment, you can see upper ATR band did step down. That's currently at 577.16. Right in the middle of the range, holding that 8 EMA as resistance, 569.49. Current price, 569.63, a little bit up after hours. The closing price was 568.84, so we closed below it, finding a little bit of a bounce to it. Looking at it a little bit closer, you can see zone of resistance, obviously. You also have that 34 EMA in there, 569.95. And you can see these ATR bands definitely starting to roll to the downside. Lower bands trending a little bit lower, just a little choppy here on today's session. Basically no volume on this up move, which is also a little bit concerning. So big down move yesterday, over the last 2 days really, and then on volume, good move to the downside, and then today no volume on this slight up move. Probably going to continue to sell tomorrow, but we'll see how it plays. Right now it's holding up okay. Moving over to the NASDAQ here on the daily chart, you can see a positive 0.15, not a whole lot. Momentum still bearish, RSI still bearish. 21 EMA is what we're looking for to the downside. That's at 19,490. We'll see how that holds up once it gets tested. I am expecting it to. You can see the breakdown, retest. Could consolidate one or two more candles here, just like we did on this previous down move. Big down candle. Next one was up, just like right here. Next one was down. Next one was up. So a little bit of choppy, and then we got that bigger move down. So we'll see how it plays. Right now we're kind of in this type of grinding price action. I think it's going to continue to do that for a little bit, and then we'll get a kind of a flush move. So right now, grinding price action. And similarly here to the SPY on the hourly chart, you can see after hours getting a little bit of a pop, up about $1 after hours. We closed at 481.95, and right now we're at 482.70. So holding up after hours above that 200 SMA. That's at 482.57 here on the hourly chart. Momentum starting to roll to the bear side, critical level there at 494. I did buy that level on the up move. As long as that holds, we'll be in good shape. But if that starts to break down here and then the 21 starts to break, this is probably going back to 477.69. So critical zone in here, waiting to see if this is going to hold up. Still possibly could, but doesn't look super great, and I am being cautious at this level, looking to get out once this starts to break down. Moving over to the Tasty charts here, same thesis as the SPY. You can see the hit that upper ATR, pulled back, consolidation, big selling, big volume. Hit the 89 EMA here on the 4-hour, which is currently at 479.50. Hit that yesterday, hit it again today, caught a little bit of a bounce. See how it plays going into tomorrow's session. Right now, 34 EMA is at 483.91. That's your current resistance. Want to see it break that level. I would like to see a little bit of an up move, a retest of the ATRs, retest of these previous highs, which is up around 492, and then get the bigger breakdown. I'm not sure it's going to play out that way, but that's what I would like to see. And right now there's not a whole lot of volume pushing around markets, so maybe we get a little bit of a grind up and then a push down. Could go either way, but right now it is holding some support levels. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, you can see both of these are actually hanging in there pretty well. 0.14 to the downside. Momentum still bearish here, RSI still bearish. Dow positive 0.1 or 41 cents, up a smidgen after hours, just like everything else on the major indices. You can see even the Russell's up about 30 cents here, so a little bit of a drift higher after hours. No change here to the Russell thesis. We were below this level here at 218.13 yesterday, same, and we still are. Tested that level to the upside, tested the level to the downside, still in the same consolidation. It is a downtrend in the short term, but medium to longer term still an uptrend, so that's why we're seeing this kind of choppy action. As long as this holds up in here, we're in good shape. If this trend line breaks, obviously not so good. And then similarly here on the Dow, trend line here, still holding up after 3 big down candles, throwing those big wicks to the downside and then catching a bounce. So still holding up in there. It will break eventually, in my opinion. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple caught a bounce again, 0.25, still holding that level, 224.36, still below the trend line. Doesn't look super great. 21 EMA hanging in there, 224. Once this trend line here broke, we should have expected more downside, and it did. Wicked a slightly lower low. Momentum still fading, RSI still fading, but definitely catching a little bit of bounces in the short term. Still think it's going to break to the downside, but until that 224.36 level breaks, we're still in the same level that we've been in. And then looking at Microsoft here, you can see big down move, 0.85, continues to sell aggressively. Think this is still headed down to the trend. Got the 200 there, 416.16. Once that breaks, I think there's going to be quite a bit more downside. My level, 413.36. This continues to look very, very good and continues to trend to the downside. In terms of a bearish trade, momentum bearish, RSI bearish, think there's quite a bit more room, or about $20 more or so in my opinion. Moving over to Tesla and NVDA. Tesla did what we thought it was going to do. Hanging man candle followed by a gap down and fall. 3.5% down move, momentum bearish, RSI bearish. This has some more room to go in my opinion, and it is falling after hours. 21 EMA at 438. So that's about another $10 down move from current price. Think we're going to get there. VWAP's just below it, 436.40. Think we're going to hit that before we see any kind of change in structure. Short-term bearish, medium-term still bullish. And then looking at NVIDIA, held up okay, 1.58% after hitting the 21 EMA there, which is at 115.66, still holding this zone in here. I do think it's going to continue to downtrend after the big bearish candle Tuesday, but we're catching a little bit of a reprieve. It's up a smidgen after hours. 9 EMAs in there at 119.93. Moving over to Amazon and Alphabet, both of these are bearish, 0.2 and 0.66. Amazon selling a little bit, 144 EMA, still the price target there at 182.48. Right at the 21 EMA yesterday, gapped below that, fell a little bit. Next level, 144, 182.48. And then my level, 181.41. Still think this is selling after hitting the trend line. I did adjust this up. I had it down here around the 192 area. I moved that up to the 194 area. So marks that top a little bit cleaner. I put it there initially before we got that last kind of final spike. So now it's topped, looking for a little bit more move down to the level. And then looking at Alphabet, I liked this move. You can see the big push on Monday, continuation Tuesday when everything was bearish. A little bit of a gap down, holding that 144 in there, 167.22. Closing price was 167.31, and it has not moved at all after hours. So we're right on top of it. Need to see some of these levels start to hold. We got the push, got the breakout, continuation, didn't touch 170.95. That was a little bit concerning. I still like this as a setup. Could just be a bit of a pullback, but need to see a little bit more confidence on the buy side before you look for a position. Like I said, I still like it to the bull side, but the hesitation today makes me a little bit more hesitant. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples breaking down finally. So we've been in this long consolidation. It's almost 2 weeks of consolidation in here, and now we got the big down move. 0.85 to the downside, gapped through the level 82.53, pushed straight to the next one at 81.85, above it by about 15 cents or so, fell a little bit after hours. Trend line is still in here as support. Momentum bearish, RSI bearish, probably going to continue a little bit lower. Next dynamic support is down there at 81.01, so that's another zone. Clear consolidation, clear breakdown. And then looking at discretionaries, gap down and fall as well, 0.85, held the level 197.14. That was the target. That was also right around yesterday's low. Overthrew it just a little bit, momentum bearish, RSI bearish. So markets are still saying that we are going to continue to fall, but today was a little bit of a hesitation. These fell a little bit more than major indices, but markets are definitely starting to move lower. Moving over to oil and gas and transports. Oil and gas catching another up move, 1.22%. Gapped above the level here, 135.07. We were back below it a little bit, and then we ended up catching a bounce. So as long as that level holds in here, looking for that 140.88 level. 55 EMA, still resistance, 136.53. So stuck between this area here. You can see we got here once before, broke down again. But watching this one closely, I think there's some more room for the upside, $5 or so, at least to that next level. And then transports, big down move here, 0.97, momentum bearish, RSI bearish. 21 EMA holding as support, 67.37. But I think that's going to break. I think we're going to go down to that next one, 66.63. Moving over to Breadth. Breadth did get another down move here, about 10% on 20-day Breadth. So still in this consolidation, just at the bottom of it here. I think this is going to start to roll here a little bit more aggressively tomorrow. See how it plays. Momentum stepping to bearish, RSI bearish. Same here on the 50, bearish momentum, bearish RSI. But again, still in the same level that we were at yesterday. Hasn't broken down too much on the 50-day. I think it's going to go here soon. Definitely in a consolidation. Definitely looking for some more bearish. But it hasn't broken down quite yet. And if it does tomorrow, I think there's going to be quite a bit more to it. So watching tomorrow very closely. Moving over to the dollar. The dollar is finally doing what we thought it was going to do. Big up move here on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. 3 days in a row of bullish. Might see a little bit of a pullback now, at least to the level 101.25, maybe the 21 EMA in there, 101.02, 03, somewhere in there. But momentum bullish, RSI bullish. We've broken this level. Next one would be 102. Maybe we push straight to that in the 55 EMA up there at 102.12. So right now, still bullish. 3 up candles. Sometimes when you see 3 up candles just like this, you get a little bit of a consolidation, dip low, and then the continuation. But right now, looks very clean, coming off of this solid base that we've looked at for a while. This looks like somebody closing a long-term bearish position. All the way back here, accumulation, big down move. Then you see a little bit of a buy up to generate that buying pressure so those bigger banks can start to sell into that pressure and push market lower. Now they've done it. They've had a big move down. This is about 5.5%, almost 6% lower. We've now seen a consolidation, closing those positions over the medium term, and now we're catching a bit of a bounce in my opinion. So dollar, up move, usually that's inverse to equities. Moving over to bonds, J&K holding in there, 0.01, almost completely flat. Still holding that 21 EMA, still holding VWAP. Critical zone here, if it's going to hold, it really needs to do it here. Did barely wick that previous high, maybe missed it by just a few pennies, very, very close. Momentum in RSI still bearish. You can actually see TLT caught a pretty big breakdown here as well. We had the up move, retested the 21 EMA. Now that rejected as resistance. So this is going to be a short-term downtrend in my opinion. You already had the big move down. We've had the slight rally, retest, continuation lower. 55 EMA is your current support, 97.28. Next level would be 96.50, and I think we're probably going to head there tomorrow or the next day. And then if that breaks, there's a lot of room here to the 200 all the way at 94.35. Moving over to the VIX, got a little bit of a down move after hitting that level. The 20 level continues to be a little bit of resistance, 2 days in a row, touching that level and then rejecting. Momentum still bullish, RSI still bullish. I think we're going to hold a higher low and then push again. We've been saying the VIX is probably bullish, and I think it's going to continue to go. Just a slight hesitation, still holding that 1850 support level. Moving over to my accounts, I made a little bit of money on the day, which is good. Markets were up, still made money there. I held on to those puts, made money, and then I rolled the calls down here to tomorrow and then put some shares back on to 483 for tomorrow's session for $2.70. That's in a slight profit already. Markets, like I said, basically flat here after hours. They were up a little bit. Watching these levels very, very closely. If these levels hold, we'll continue to hold these positions. If they don't, definitely going to be taking them off. We're in a critical zone tomorrow as we head into that unemployment data. Wouldn't shock me to see markets hold up until we get the unemployment, and then we'll see what happens after that. Right now, a little bit more bullish than I probably wanted to be. You can see 17 deltas here on the IWM. Still sold those 217s for tomorrow for $1.50. After hours, basically flat. So about 80 cents potential profit there. And then looking at the Qs, like I mentioned, $2.72 credit on that for 483. It's about another $300 or so left on that, maybe closer to 400. And then the XOP, that's almost at max profit. I'll be watching that 135 level to see if I need to make this a little bit bigger position. But for right now, looking at that area to hold if it's going to do it. Let me know down in the comment section what you thought of the markets today. Are they going to hold up, or is this just the start of a bigger down move? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.